Good morning. Today is Sunday, July 7th, 2024. We have spoken several times about the need for all Israelis who can serve in the IDF, the Israel Defense Force, to do so. Especially now, Israel needs everyone. And the arrangement that has lasted for decades of large numbers of Chareidim, ultra-orthodox Jews, who were exempted from IDF service, number one, was never based on authentic Torah sources. Their service is clearly required according to Jewish law, as we have discussed so far. And their refusal so far, besides now being illegal, is terribly damaging to the social fabric in Israel, with an entire segment of society not doing their part in protecting Israel from attack and danger. At the same time, the IDF must take steps to foster and facilitate Chareidim coming into the army in ways that do not degrade military effectiveness. And the IDF has taken certain steps. Perhaps more are called for. But an issue arose recently. Eventually it was resolved. I don't think it ever should have been an issue, because the issue was due to a misunderstanding, which I want to clarify. And the issue goes like this. There are a number of Chareidim serving in the IDF, serving bravely, and Nebuch sacrificing their lives. On May 22nd, Captain Yisrael Yudkin fell in battle in Gaza. He is from a Chareidi family. So, he was buried. As you know, in Israel, the common practice is that the matzeva, the monument, is usually put up shortly after the Shiva. And when the family wanted to put up the monument, the family wanted the following inscription. They wanted, in addition to the name and the date and the other things that are put on a traditional Jewish monument, they wanted the words Hashem Yinkom Damo, which means God will take vengeance for his blood. Now that phrase, Hashem Yikom Damo, or for a female, Hashem Yikom Dama, is a standard phrase that is used for someone who died, al Kiddush Hashem, sanctifying God's name, who died protecting the Jewish people, who died because they are Jewish. Very often, the acronym in Hebrew, Hey Yud Dalet. In English, you will see the letters HYD. And if you ever notice those letters after somebody's name who has passed away, HYD, it stands for Hashem Yikom Damo, or Doma, meaning God should take vengeance on their blood. So, the army said, you can't put that on the stone. And for many people, the family especially, and for many people, it underscored the need for the IDF to be more accommodating to Chareidim and other religious soldiers, because you're asking for greater service, but this is a standard phrase that is very often used in the Jewish world. And why would you disallow a family to put a phrase that they want to put on a monument? One Knesset member said, one minister said, Right now at the Knesset's Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, we're deliberating on how to make the Israel Defense Forces a place where Charedim will more easily integrate in the correct and respectful manner. There is no greater way of shooting ourselves in the foot than that miserable decision to come to a bereaved family and deny it the ability to place that quintessentially Jewish phrase on the monument. And again, remember, this happened at exactly the same time as the High Court of Justice said that there is no legal basis for the decades of draft exemptions for Chareidi men, and said explicitly that the government must act to enforce the law of military service on yeshiva students. So at the same time you are demanding more service, you are being stubborn and not allowing a Chareidi family to put something that is an acknowledged, widely used phrase. Okay, so finally, last week, the IDF changed their minds. And they had a committee, and it went to the defense minister, and the defense minister's office commented and said, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant adopted the recommendation of the Public Council for commemoration of fallen soldiers regarding the addition of the inscription of Hashem Yikom Damo to military gravestones of fallen soldiers who fell in battle, whose families requested. Okay. What was the reason for the initial refusal? Well, the family said that they were told that the reason for the denial was a procedural. The IDF has a list of phrases. The IDF doesn't want anybody just to put anything on a monument that is in a military cemetery that reflects the state of Israel. They don't want just anything on there. Who knows what some crazy person could put there? And there's a list of acceptable phrases, and these words were not on the list. They said it wasn't on the list, and only what's on the list can go on the headstone. That's what the family said. But earlier, the brother of the fallen soldier said something different. He said, this is the wording the Chareidi people write on their gravestones. The Ministry of Defense does not approve of the word Hashem, God, nor the root of the word Yinkom, because revenge is forbidden. So the Ministry of Defense has not approved this. And he added, if you don't respect the fallen Chareidi soldiers, then how do you want me to stay in the army? If you don't respect my brother who fell during his service, why should I respect you at all? I want to make it clear that I have no way to know the truth of why the army initially denied using this phrase. There are two different accounts that I've seen. But if there is any substance to what the brother said, that there was an objection because the phrase seems to support vengeance, then that is simply a misunderstanding, and it is an issue that it is important for all of us to be clear about. Because this phrase, Hashem Yikom Damo, God will take vengeance on this person's spilled blood. This phrase is a paraphrase of a line in the Siddur that we say every Shabbos morning. We did not say it yesterday because yesterday was Rosh Chodesh. It was a holiday. But we say a prayer of Av HaRachamim. Av HaRachamim Shalchem Romim. Father of compassion, you dwell on high. Yifkod barachamim kihilas hakodesh shemasu nashlam al kedushas Hashem. Remember with compassion the holy communities and the holy individuals who sacrificed their lives for the sanctification of God's name. This prayer was written in the aftermath of the Crusades and was meant to memorialize those people who were killed simply because they were Jews, and it encompasses from before and up until and including today, those people who died protecting the Jewish people, those people who died simply because they're Jews, victims of terror, those who fall in battle. Yizkarem Elokeinu Latova. God, remember them for good. Imshar tzadikei olam, along with the other righteous of the world. V'yinkom le'inenu nikmas dam avadov hashafuch. And may God exact vengeance for the shed blood, for the spilled blood of his servants. So the paraphrase of that is, Hashem yinkom damo, or dama. God should take vengeance on the blood that was spilled of this person. Paraphrase of this prayer. Let's just start with this prayer. We're asking God to take vengeance for a death of a holy Jewish person. But hold on a minute. The Torah tells us in Sefer Vayikra, in the Parsha Kedoshim, Lo sikom, we're not allowed to take vengeance. Vengeance is wrong. We're not allowed to be revengeful. So let me clarify this point. Of course, whenever, wherever Jews are threatened, we must defend ourselves from being hurt. That might even require a preemptive action to defend ourselves from being hurt. Nakama, which is prohibited, revenge, which is prohibited, is when the action is over and there is no more danger. Then, human beings are not allowed to take revenge. By the way, action in court is not revenge. That is keeping law and order in society. Revenge would be a personal act of revenge, but again, after the incident has passed and after there is no more danger or harm or risk possible. It's prohibited. We are not allowed to do it. Says the Chizkuni, one of the classic commentators to the Torah. Why? Why are we prohibited from taking revenge? Levi shahachema milchash vechat. Because anger, hatred, will overcome us. It would make us cruel. If once the person who harmed us is neutralized, they are in jail, they are subject to the court, they are no longer a threat, to harm that person would make us cruel. Aval HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but God, Shu kovesh esachema, God does not lose God's temper. God does not act out of anger. God is always, by definition, in control of what God does. Ksiv, the Torah says, no came Hashem. God takes revenge. Because that is justice for God. It doesn't cross the boundary into hatred and anger. So nakama, revenge, in the context of the prohibition for human beings, refers to when the damage is over and the danger is finished, it's past. But God is different. And listen please to the words of Rabbi Sham Hirsch as he explains this prayer of Avarachamim. With this prayer, he writes, we know God would never forget the blood of innocent people that have been shed, particularly if it was spilled in the cause of God's service and for the sake of loyalty to God. Knowing this is the critical moment. Knowing this, our people throughout the ages have committed to God and to God alone the task of avenging the blood of their murdered fathers and mothers, wives and children. This promise sustained them and keeps us free of bitter and burning lust for vengeance against their oppressors and murderers. They left vengeance to God. Such is the fruit yielded by these prayers, in which the worshiper views God as the avenger of the innocent. The phrase Hashem Yinkom Damo means, I don't want to take revenge. It's not right for me to be vengeful. I have to find a way to let it go, as painful as that is. I leave it to God. So ironically, this phrase is not a call for vengeance. It's a call to not take vengeance for human beings. It's a call for human beings to say, it's over. Nothing else. We don't want to become cruel and engage in vengeance. Whatever needs to be done, we leave it to God. It is actually a progressive statement that allows for a humanity to come forth where otherwise there would be thoughts of human revenge. Again, if it is part of a judicial system, it is called for. If the danger is still there, we must protect ourselves even preemptively. Holding others accountable is right and just, unless it leads us to hate. Then it destroys us, and it's not worth it. And that's why in this prayer we ask God to do it, so justice will be served, not hatred, so that we can live our lives. The phrase Hashem Yinkom Damo or Dama is a peaceful, humanistic phrase. We leave it up to you, God, so that we are not included in vengeance. I think perhaps if the IDF had understood this, this issue might never have arisen. In any event, it is important for the IDF to find ways to accommodate Chareidim into military service. And it's important for all of us to understand that defense is always needed and revenge is always left to God. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.